Welcome back in, everybody, to Birds 365, a game day edition of Birds 365. We don't get to say that often, but we do today, and we're joined now by Martin Frank from DelawareOnline.com. Martin, welcome to the show, man. How you doing on this Thursday game day?
I'm great. Only what, 12 hours to go?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
right
got to
around
get
there.
down there quickly, Martin.
Uh,
Make sure
Parking
you beat
lot's
the
probably
truck.
already filling up as we speak.
Already spell it. Yeah, there's going to be. This is a big one. First place is on the line. I don't know if you know that, Martin, but
Yeah, I heard something about that.
um, we were talking when you were in the green room about the Eagles starts. We haven't talked about that a lot recently, but Zander went down that route, so I'm going to ask you. What is going on with this team at the start of games? It's almost every week they're behind the sticks.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like if you start the game in the second quarter, the Eagles would be like undefeated, outscoring opponents by like 50 points or 100 points even. I don't know. It's just really hard. It's really hard to figure out. Like it seems like everything that can go wrong on those first drives, goes wrong. I know you mentioned like, the sack against against the Cowboys. They're facing 3rd and 33.
Third and 33.
That's crazy. Like,
Yeah, and that's if you go back to the first offensive play of the season on the crappy field in Brazil, the Saquon slipped and they were second and 15.
yeah, at their 5 yard line.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then Hurts turned the ball over twice in that first quarter. Luckily they're only down 6-0 instead of 14-0. That's the only reason they had a chance to win the game. So yeah, it's I don't know. They should just say, when at the coin toss, like let's defer to the second quarter and start the game there.
yeah,
Martin, the
maybe.
Commanders have come alive this year in a big way. Many talking about them all across the NFL, not just in the NFC East. They're a big national story. Jaden Daniels, obviously, a captivating rookie player. I know you cover the Eagles, but how do you see this team coming into this game? Are you buying that they're true contenders? Are they still pretenders? Where are you on this Commanders team as we get ready for this Thursday night matchup?
Well, I think we'll know for sure after tonight's game. But like, if you look at the way the Commanders been playing lately, I would lean more towards the pretenders, especially with Jaden Daniels. I think teams are starting to adjust to him. You mentioned like he had only 5 yards rushing last week against the Steelers. But like, if you look overall, his numbers in the first 4 games, I think he was completing like 82% of his passes, which was just unreal, unbelievable. But since then, he's under 60%. It's like 59.6. He was only complete 50% of his passes against the Steelers on Sunday. So I think teams are starting to catch up to him. And, this happens to a lot of young quarterbacks, obviously. You start off great, the league adjusts, and now it's on you to adjust back. And, can he do it against the Eagles? I'm not so sure. But I think for now, like teams are starting to figure out exactly what they need to do to stop Jaden Daniels, and you'll see probably the Eagles look really closely at what the Steelers did and try to figure that out and adapt their game to that.
In sort of the same vein, Martin, the Eagles' defense is that for real, or is that sort of manufactured by some easy opponents during this 5 game winning streak? They've given up. I think the exact number is 1,008 yards, maybe over the past 5 games. That's
Yeah,
like 200 a game.
201 per game. It's crazy.
I mean, that is unbelievable. And there were a couple games. Obviously, Cooper Rush last week. Daniel Jones. The Giants had, I think, 115 total yards, but Joe Burrow was mixed in there, and
Exactly.
that was their worst game. And they gave, but it was still only 280. Um, is this just really good, or is it at least a little from column A, a little from column B, and it's going to get more difficult with the Rams starts tonight, and then you have Baltimore. I got to believe they're going to give up more than 200 yards in one of those games.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Daniels is much better than Daniel Jones or Cooper Rush, Trey Lance combination in Dallas. But yeah, if you look at their 5-game winning streak, the only real QB test they had was Joe Burrow, and we saw like the first drive the Bengals had. I think he completed like 11 out of 12
Yeah, it
passes.
was 11. Everybody was jumping off bridges, Martin. They were losing their minds. They were like, "Here we go again."
Yeah, yeah. But things turned, and that's the sign of a good defense. Jaden Daniels will present a test that the Eagles really haven't faced before. With the quarterback who's also dangerous running the ball, and is better than Daniel Jones. I mean, Daniel Jones has some of those uh,
Yeah,
traits as well. So we'll find out. I mean, that's the thing. If you look at the record of the teams the Eagles have played over the last 5 weeks, which have all been wins, I mean, you got some really bad teams in there. The Browns, the Giants, the Cowboys. So, I mean, we'll find out. This is like the best team the Eagles have played since early in the season. And, are they that much better? I mean, the one thing that works in their favor is the offense is fully healthy right now. Saquon Barkley is, arguably the MVP of the league at this point. Hurts has been playing great. He hasn't really turned the ball over other than the Cowboys game. So they kind of got everything clicking, and Washington's defense is not at the level the Eagles are. I mean, they give up a ton of yards rushing. That's something the Eagles can exploit, and we'll see. But yeah, I think it's definitely like some column A and some column B in this situation.
No doubt. Martin Frank, what type of impact will Saquon Barkley have tonight? He's obviously on a tear to start the year here. Has been a big story in the city of brotherly love as he's, really not resurrected, but he's been unbelievable in Philly. How much of an impact will he be on the game tonight?
He should have a huge impact. I mean, Washington, I think, is like 28th against the run. They give up like 143 yards per game. Barkley is like 9 yards short of 1,000 yards at this point, and what we're in game 10 for the Eagles. I mean,
that's pretty
that's
good.
yeah, he's on pace to break LaShawn McCoy's franchise record. I mean, he's been everything the Eagles have expected and more. It might be one of Howie's best signings ever, to be honest with you. I mean, I know he paid a ton of money, or Jeffrey Lurie paid a ton of money to get Barkley, and everyone's like, why would you pay a running back? But like, we're seeing exactly why. He's I mean, I can't say enough, like, of how much of a difference he's made on this team, and it's even more remarkable considering the last 2 years they've had 1,000-yard rushers in DeAndre Swift and Miles Sanders. But you can definitely tell, like, Saquon Barkley is like a level above those guys, as good
Yeah.
as they were. So he should be huge. I mean, they need a big game from him tonight.
Now, it's only 9 games, Martin, and everything you said about Saquon Barkley is true. But I think Howie Roseman made a better signing, at least through 9 games, and that's Zach Ball.
Yeah.
My God,
the money. Yeah.
this is unbelievable. $1.6 million.
Yeah.
And Vic Fangio takes a look at him and says, no, he's an all-Paul linebacker. And all of a sudden, he's the best all-Paul linebacker, not named Fred Warner in the league.
Yeah, it's incredible. It was funny because Vic was telling us the story the other day, like, how he says, here, I got you, a guy who, give you depth on, depth at depth
On the
at,
edge and
for sure.
special teams, yeah.
Yeah, and on special teams, and Vic's like, no, I think he's an inside linebacker. And yeah, lo and behold, there he is.
Yeah, and this is the difference between the Eagles this year and last year. If Howie said, hey, we're signing Zach Ball to be an edge rusher and a special teams player last year,
Yeah.
nothing against Sean Desai, but he doesn't have the cachet to say, hey, you know what? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm going to play him at all-Paul linebacker. He might have thought it secretly, but
Yeah.
you don't have that sort of gravitas to just do what you want to do. And Vic Fangio has that. It's been a huge advantage for the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, Vic does what he wants to do, and this has worked out. I don't know. Look, there's a lot of talk about extensions and, well, how we pay this player. if he continues to play like this, Martin, he's going to get over 10 million a year at linebacker, which is a place Howie has never gone.
Yeah.
Will he do it? Will the success of Saquon Barkley translate to that and say, all right, this guy's different. I got to make an exception for this guy.
I don't know. I mean, I think Zach Bond might be pricing himself out of Philly. I mean,
I think so too, right?
it's a question of like how much he wants to say. Now you can look at it, Zach Bond could look at it and say, well, I mean, the Eagles believed in me. Vic Fangio made this whole thing possible. Maybe I'll give the Eagles a hometown discount, but that doesn't really happen very often. And
No.
a guy for, as short a career as NFL players have, I mean, it's generally like, I'm going to get as much money as I can as quickly as I can. And,
and by the way, Zach has expressed exactly what you said. Like he's appreciative of Vic Fangio. He's appreciative of the organization, but he's 27 years old. This is one shot to make life-changing money.
I would think if Howie comes anywhere close to that, he might consider it. But I mean, what's Howie going to offer? Like a 2-year deal, maybe a 3-year deal, and someone else is offering a 4-year deal? That's hard to pass up. I mean, I don't know. I just, as great as he's been playing, I think he might be pricing himself out of Philly. And they did draft Jeremiah Trotter, and they do like him. And, there's free agency next year. You can get, I'm not saying you can get someone as good as Zach Bond, but you can get
Zach Cunningham. You can get Nick Morrow. Run it again.
Yeah, but maybe, maybe you got Nakobe Dean and Trotter starting, and you go cheap for a depth guy.
I hope they don't.
Long way to go. Take advantage. Take advantage.
We're going to go back down that road of hoping the 5th round draft pick can be anywhere close to the guy who's playing like a top 5 or top 10 linebacker. I think that would be dumb. But you might be right, Martin, where if he gets too expensive, they won't sign him. Speaking of the defense, Martin, what's got to be the game plan coming in for this one? I mean, it's kind of a tough one when you have a rookie quarterback, right? There's not that much tape out there on him. What do you expect the defense to do tonight to kind of get him off his spot?
Anything possible. I mean, I think he would be kind of like the focus of the defense. They might, who knows, they might have a guy spying him, whether it's Nakobe, probably Nakobe. And, you want to make him, it's kind of like, it's funny because it's kind of like how a lot of teams approach Jalen Hurts I mean, up until, recently, but before he got like AJ Brown, especially, he's like, make Jalen beat you as a passer. And I think that's what they're going to try to do, make Jaden Daniels beat them throwing the ball. And, obviously that provides the key matchup of the game, which would be Quinyon Mitchell on Terry McLaurin. That's going to be a matchup I really want to see how Quinyon does against McLaurin, because he's probably going to line up against him most of the game, because that's the side where McLaurin.
That's usually where he is. Yeah.
And it's been kind of interesting to see because lately, teams haven't been throwing in his direction, which shows A, how much respect they have for Quinyon, even as a rookie, and B, just how well he's been playing. I mean, he barely gives up anything. I think CeeDee Lamb, they threw at him twice. He caught one pass for 5 yards. That's it. I mean, not that the Cowboys did anything against anybody.
Yeah, I think there's Cooper Rush involved in that.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see, if Dak was out there. But hey, you take advantage. That's not the Eagles' fault.
I go back to the Bengals game. I mean, Jamar Chase. Only had 1 or 2 catches against Quinyon. They only threw at him maybe 2 or 3 times. And he still had, Chase had 9 catches for 54 yards. And granted, when Slay went out of the game, they're probably throwing at Isaiah Rodgers, Chase had. But still, they're not really testing Quinyon that much anymore. I think the word is out is that he's really good.
The beauty is you can't test anybody because Slay, people don't throw at Slay still because of his reputation. That we really saw that early in the season.
Yeah.
When they were trying to test Quinyon.
Yeah.
Now you can't test Cooper DeSheen. inside. He's stopping Jamar Chase.
Right.
He's stopping 4th and 1s every week.
Yeah.
And now and Quignon's been playing at a high level for a rookie since week 1, but I do think that has more to do with the attrition of the quarterbacks in recent weeks. Like good quarterbacks are going to throw the football.
Right.
And every corner is going to give up something at some point, even the best. So, we'll see how it goes with the big test to me is coming up in a couple weeks, and that's Lamar Jackson, because he's probably going to win the MVP again. He's playing at such a high level. He's going to throw the ball where now he's a big tight end guy though. So there's a lot of stuff that conflates it. The Rams are going to be interesting because Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp's back and Puka Nacua. So you're going to see all the motion, and that might affect the younger guys a little bit more than maybe the experienced guys. So it's going to be interesting over this stretch. But Joe Burrow was the one test, and they did tremendously. And Jamar Chase, he had 264 yards passing. And, I was saying all week, Jamar Chase is that Cincinnati week. He's right there with Jefferson. He's right there with Tyreek Hill as the best receiver in football.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, the Eagles, he's nothing. And then he gets 264. Oh, he's something.
Yeah, he's got, I think he's got over 1,000 yards already.
Yeah. I mean, he's tremendous, and the Eagles did a tremendous job limiting him. So they've been doing a great job defensively. Is it sustainable? Do you believe this is a top? They're number 2 right now.
Yeah.
PFF says they're number 1. I'll say top 5. Do you think this is sustainable? This is a top 5 defense.
I don't know about top 5. I would say top 10, for sure. Like you said, I mean, after they're gonna get tested. Stafford, he'll throw the ball anywhere to anybody. After that, you got Lamar Jackson, and then, well, obviously you got the Panthers after that. But the Steelers have been throwing the ball really well with Russell Wilson. You got the Commanders again. So these next 3 out of the next 4 games, they're going to get tested like they haven't been tested so far this year, and then we'll find out. I mean, I think they're really good defensively. The one thing that still concerns me is the pass rush. They've been getting pressure on quarterbacks lately, but they haven't been getting a ton of sacks. And, Bryce Huff's situation has just been crazy. I don't know. I'm not sure if I totally believe in the edge rushers just yet. And I think that's going to be a key because as well as the defensive backs have been playing, you need that pressure up front to make the quarterbacks throw faster, especially with guys like Stafford and everything. I mean, if he has time to sit there in the pocket, no matter how good of a defensive back you are, he's going to expose you. So they're going to need to do better rushing the passer these next few weeks, especially.
Good, John.
I believe in Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham. I don't believe in anybody else on that edge. And Brandon's 36 years old. I mean, how long can they keep playing him at this level? I had a hunch they were going to play him more than people expected because this is it. Empty the tank. He's going to retire. And Josh Sweat, we saw it last year. As later in the season, he was playing so many snaps, he kind of wore down. I'm concerned that same thing is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, not last week because everyone got a chance to rest against the Cowboys in the fourth quarter, but the week before, I think Brandon Graham played 69% of the. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. I actually went back and looked. He hadn't played that many snaps in a game since late in the 2022 season, and before that, you'd have to go back to 2020. So I mean, if he has to play that kind of snap count these next few weeks, I mean, I don't know how he's going to be able to do it later in the season. And the problem is they just can't rely on Bryce Huff. I mean, I know he's got the wrist injury and everything, and Vic was saying that's kind of why his playing time's been limited. But he wasn't even playing like 30 to 40%
No.
for
He
that.
did play well in limited snaps last week, but what
Yeah,
does that mean? I don't know what that
I
means.
mean, Hassan Reddick was playing 75% of the snaps, and Hassan Reddick isn't a great run stopper and everything,
No.
but like, you know, they can't play Bryce Huff again, unless it's a passing down and everything, and I don't know. I just think depth there might be an issue. I mean, Nolan Smith has been playing better, but he's got flashes here and there. Like you said, I mean, Sweat and BG are probably the only ones you can really rely on at this point. And
Oh, real quick, I wanted to get your thoughts on Jalix Hunt, because everybody made a big deal about him, getting a career high in snaps, and I think we all had that projection that, all right, Jalix is a developmental pass rusher, and I think when everybody saw him play so much, then you watch the film, then you watch it, and we got to talk to Jalix in the locker room. I believe you were there, and Vic talked about it. He was actually playing on first and second downs
yeah,
to hold the edge. And
yeah,
Jalix said, and he said, hold the edge, protect the run, and let my boys come rush off the edge while I still build up my bag a little bit. That's the exact pass rushing bag, obviously, he's talking about. Another example of Vic. He's like, everybody's like, well, this guy's just a pass rusher. And he's like, no, I think he can set the edge. And he did a pretty good job
yeah.
of setting the edge. It's amazing. He just does. He's like, no, I don't, I think he can set the edge. Bryce can't set the edge. Nolan can't set the edge. I think Jalix Hunt can set the edge. Is that a 1 week thing, or does it continue?
I think it builds up slowly. Like, I mean, they're going to need them. I mean, like I said, depth there. I mean, they need as much depth as they can get. And if you can't rely on guys like Bryce Huff and, to some extent, Nolan Smith, I mean, why not give him a chance, see what he can do? I mean, the Eagles have loved Jalix Hunt's potential ever since, they drafted him. I mean, people thought it was kind of a reach getting him in the third round. Especially for a guy, he went to Houston Baptist, and he was
Houston Christian. They changed the name.
That's right. And then he was at Cornell before that as a safety.
Yeah, he was
So,
a safety. Yeah.
the guy's as green as your screen, basically. And
Nice.
he's going to need some time and everything, and he's been getting it. I mean, we're just going to see more of it, I think, as the season goes along. And it's an issue, like, as far as BG wearing down. We saw last year Jalen Carter kind of wore down.
Yeah.
Jordan Davis wore down. I mean, Jalen Carter's been tremendous, so far and everything. You can't, like, the things he does in games are just mind-boggling sometimes. But it's getting late in the season again, and but like Carter played, what was it, the Bengals game? He played like 96%.
Yeah, he's playing. He's playing. I think he's playing a lot more than last year too, when he wore down.
That's a testament to how he got himself in much better shape this year and everything like that. But it is a long season. There's still a long ways to go. So we'll have to see how he holds up there too.
Yeah, no doubt. Martin, we're 9 games in, and it sounds like you and everybody else, you're just adding to the list now, are just out on Huff. I mean, is this what this guy's going to be? Do you have any hope or any optimism that he can be a better player moving forward than he's been in the last 9 weeks? I mean, we did pay this guy $17 million. We were hoping for a guy that can get after the quarterback. Now we're talking about hopefully he can play 20% of the snaps. Where are you on Huff? Are you out on him completely?
I'm getting there. Not quite there yet, but I'm getting. I mean, it's not me. I mean, I think it's Vic Fangio who's out on him more than as much as I am. And I mean, it happens that way. I mean, they took a chance when they signed him in free agency because they knew they weren't going to bring Hassan Reddick back, just because of what he wanted money wise. And they figured, all right, well, we can sign this guy who's 4 years younger. Same kind of deal as Hassan Reddick, in the sense that, like, Reddick's first few years in Arizona, he was kind of a project. The Cardinals pretty much gave up on him, and he became a great, really good player. So they're thinking maybe, this could be the same kind of situation with Bryce Huff. He's coming off the season where he had 10 sacks at the Jets, but clearly we're starting to see that was more because of the situation he was in, and everything. But yeah, it hasn't been a great signing, and that kind of thing happens. You don't want to pay like $25-30
Yeah.
million for a Chris Jones type of guy. Take your chances, basically.
At M Frank NFL, make sure you follow Martin on the X platform. You can read him, DelawareOnline.com. Does a tremendous job. Check out his coverage tonight of the big game. First place on the line. That's where I'm going to end with you, Martin. Frank, put you on the spot. Who's going to win the football game? 6 in a row for the Philadelphia Eagles or Jaden Daniels? Exposing things.
I actually have the Eagles winning 27-22 in my predictions. I just think that the Eagles are playing too well offensively right now to be outscored by Jaden Daniels, and I think Washington's run defense is susceptible to a big game from Saquon Barkley. And while I say that, I mean, they still have to pass the ball, obviously. Like, the reason you run the ball well is because teams respect you throwing the ball. So that's obviously going to be key. And, hopefully, what we saw last week in Dallas, like Jalen Hurts' 2 turnovers, more of an aberration than the way he's been playing the last 4 or 5 weeks. So, if he keeps the turnovers down, if the Eagles can run the ball, you keep Jaden Daniels off the field, which is another key. I mean, the
Eagles don't think that way. They think they're better than everybody. You know that, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. And, maybe try not to get in the 3rd and 33 on the first possession.
That might help.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the Eagles should win this one. We'll see.
We'll see. Should be a good one. Martin, thanks for joining the show today, man. We'll be reading your coverage at Delaware Online. Make sure you guys follow Martin at what is it? M Frank NFL.
NFL.
M Frank NFL. So give him a follow over there and read his work at Delaware Online. Martin, thanks for joining, man. We'll talk to you soon. All right, brother.
All right. Thanks for having me. Always appreciate it.
Thanks, Martin. Appreciate it.
Martin Frank here on Birds 365.